Hi, welcome to a special episode of Don't Quote Us, where we're going to do a review. We just actually went out and saw Battle Angel Alita. So, I myself, Jeremy.
My name's Steve.
And I'm Chad.
And Chad, all three of us went and saw it together. You know, we'll start with Steve here and just get some impressions. We're going to keep the spoilers till later, so don't worry about spoilers. We'll give you a big warning when that's about to happen.
I liked it. It was a good action movie. If you're looking for a entertaining movie, it will exactly scratch the itch, basically. It's in the same vein as what my impression would be like an Aeon Flux. You have a great heroine. She kicks some butt, beats the bad guys, great bad guys in general. That's my impressions. I'm going to pass it off to Chad.
This was a darn good movie. I have no idea what all the shade is about out there that people are talking. This was really, really good. I really liked it. Steve hit the nail on the head pretty much with almost all the major points on that. It's a lot of fun. We'll get into more detail on some of the other particulars and the things here in a little bit, but yeah, I really liked it.
I'm really, a little bit undecided, to be honest. And it's not a good or bad. Having seen the OVA in the past, long time ago, still pieces of it were in my head.
Sure.
It almost felt like a little like, I guess I'd equate it almost like a John Wick, like you guys both said. It's an action-y movie. It's not a real deep story. It's, at least I didn't feel like the story was that deep. I felt like there was a lot of exposition in it. A lot of the dialogue was
there's
story
a lot
along.
of exposition.
Yeah,
yes.
whereas the dialogue wasn't, really like people talking. It was more of, here's this, and I was like,
Yes.
I was like, okay, cool. I'm watching National Geographic, but
Sure.
I mean, I definitely
understand
don't
that.
hate it, but it's not one I would go back to rewatch. I can say that.
Whereas I'm going to buy it on Blu-ray.
And that's a big thing. This guy does not buy a lot. I don't know if you buy any movies. We never asked you your movie collection.
I buy the movies that I think count the most. Would I rewatch this? Absolutely, without a doubt. Would I buy it? I don't know. But I mean, I've decided this. To me, this was a good movie. And
No, but that's
everything.
good. We have a good range. I wouldn't buy it. You're not sure, and he would.
Yeah.
So we got a pretty good range, and that says, maybe that's why the movie isn't, flying off the charts or whatever. But I heard they're estimating $42 million for opening weekend, which is not too bad. It's actually going to take first place, and that's a good thing, But I guess, as far as the manga goes, without going spoilers, how is it versus the manga and OVA? Chad's our historian here on this one for Alita Battle Angel.
Well, there's definitely changes to it. And we're going to talk about things more with spoilers here in a little bit. We're going to try and stay spoiler-free for right now. I can't go into great detail about it. And I've not read tons of the manga. I had a friend of mine years back that used to read the manga pretty faithfully and through most of it. So I've heard a lot of the different things about it, even though I haven't necessarily read those parts of the manga. I've watched the OVAs, and I just rewatched them about 2 nights ago before I went to go see it, so I can make definite comparisons on that. Overall, I think that they stayed really true to the material. Things that were in the OVA, definitely. Scene for scene, a lot of times there are things that played out almost exactly the same. There were some changes. Definitely there were changes, no doubt about that. But nothing that was done felt like it was being untrue to it. And there are some moments in there and some other elements in there that are definitely not of the OVA, and I don't necessarily know if they are part of the manga, but I'm willing to bet that they are because everything felt true to form. So even if there were some elements in there that were not from the manga, parts that I've actually read, I'm betting they're in there someplace. This felt very true to the source
Like
material.
very organic part of it, like not like they were just shoving it in there to get it in there.
There were...
We can go more into the spoilers,
Maybe. Yeah, we can cover some of that stuff a bit more in the spoilers.
But actually, I think now we can move on to technicals. The movie was beautiful, I will say. James Cameron, it's always, Avatar, even Titanic, it was a beautiful presentation, and I gotta say the CG blended. It wasn't jarring, it didn't pull me out. I don't know if it fell into the Uncanny Valley thing.
No,
I didn't feel
the
like it
CGI
did.
on this I think was practically flawless.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, I read an article that said if Avatar had not come, then this movie couldn't have been filmed.
Oh no, you can totally see that.
You can see that in whatever you may have opinion-wise on Avatar. It is an amazing, beautiful movie, and just for visuals alone, you should absolutely watch it.
Oh, yeah.
How they do blend the CGI and everything.
Yes.
And I know one thing that was really CGI was the underwater scene. And I'm not going to jump into spoilers just yet, but that alone specifically looked flawless.
It
Oh,
did.
it did.
It and that's the part of the movie I really liked is that I didn't, versus like a not James Cameron, Michael Bay movie where the CG just is like, you know when it's CG versus not in a Michael Bay movie. It's just boom, it's like right there in your face. But this I felt like it helped the story, like we've talked about with the giant eyes, which I did hear some little girl behind us go, look at how big her eyes are. Some little girl was in there.
And they chose that, of course, stylistically because anime does have the big eyes. Now, of course, almost every character in anime has big eyes, but if they ever have, in other cases where they've done live-action adaptations, not that there's been many, at least in the U.S., but in Japan, they don't make those changes. They're just normal eyes. Now, they did that for Alita here, and I think it worked.
I feel it, man.
It lended a lot. It lended a lot to that sense of innocence with her, that wide-eyed look.
Yeah. Nice use.
But I think that's a very big part of why they went with that wide look. It does lend very much to that sense of innocence for her.
Good point. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, the innocence. Anything else you want to add on the technicals?
No, I've said what I needed to say on the technicals. Again, I mean, from the trailers alone, you can see the amount of dedication that was put into play.
Oh,
so
heck yes.
I don't. You know what?
Big budget.
No need to beat a dead horse on this one. I mean, technicals are absolutely there. Story,
okay.
I thought the story was as good as you could get. Chad and I were literally discussing this. I don't know how you could have necessarily made it better.
Not really. I mean, unless they tacked on another hour to it and allowed them to do additional things, but within the time frame of what they did with 2 hours and 2 minutes, I think they very successfully introduced the world, the characters, developed them, gave us a strong villain, and then moved forward to their climax of the storyline.
And I do have to say, it's a 2-hour movie, and there are certain movies where you get 2 hours 30 minutes, 2 hours 45, and you as a moviegoer, you're like, okay, I know this is going to end eventually. I know it's getting close. What's going on? Sometimes you're asking for the movie to end because you're done with it. Like at that point and everything, there's no more character development. What was cool in the 2 hours and 2 minutes? How many different characters were introduced, and some were good, some were bad, some were in that gray area, and some started off good, some started off bad. And, there was a lot of dynamics with the characters.
Oh yeah,
done with such a short amount of time. I commend like that. That was something special. You don't see that every day.
You really
it's
don't.
not easy. And then I said this earlier, and then I'll stop talking. You can screw up your movie in the first 10 minutes by how you introduce and how you start a movie. I think they did it as well as they could have.
Sure.
I don't.
No, like this versus The Last Jedi, completely, different. I'll keep hitting on that until we get to that episode.
Another time.
But no, I at one point I was sitting there wondering when is this going to end. Though and I don't know why.
Whereas I was not.
Okay,
I was enjoying the ride.
I guess I'm the dissenter here. I don't know if I was expecting more. I wasn't disappointed. I don't. It was we only paid $6 each, so it wasn't like paid $20 or whatever.
Oh,
you would have been.
I'd have been happy with full price.
I wouldn't have been. But I think it's because I like more. I think I like dialogue more dialogue-driven movies, more relationship stuff. This felt like in the first 10, 20 minutes, it felt like they're throwing a lot at you and just trying to get the ball rolling. And it was just like, whoa, slow it down a little. Let me get to know these people. Sure. But you weren't getting to know the characters. You were more so getting to know the world. And they were like, we got to explain a bunch of shit to you so you know what the hell's going on here.
And they do.
And they did that. But it was just like jarring. It was just like, okay, too much quick. I would have rather that had been spread out more, I guess, throughout the movie if they could have. But it was just like a lot, I can't say more without going into spoilers.
And I understand exactly what you're talking about in
good.
there.
It's not just me.
And again, not without going into spoilers here, and I won't, but there are the sense from the anime, it was slower and drawn out a bit
Okay,
more.
so maybe that's
The
what I was
pacing,
feeling.
more or less.
Yeah.
True, but they also essentially put in a lot more into this than what the OVAs did.
Yeah,
and the
makes
original
sense.
OVAs, there were only 2 like 25-minute episodes. So I mean, even that right alone, there you've got double the amount of time in terms of this on the movie, and they put a lot more into it.
Oh, they did. So I think we've established as much as we probably can without going into spoilers at this point. You guys
Yes.
agree?
No, and
All right.
I think that's where we need
All right.
to.
Yeah, we'll put a timestamp on the screen as to where to jump forward to if you want to hear our final verdicts and such. But spoilers and go. What was?
Hold on, real quick.
Okay.
Spoilers. Just so everybody
All right.
knows it's going
I'll put
on.
it all over the screen.
So here's what I will say. Because I am a moviegoer, I'm okay with the pacing. I just wanted to recircle that back
Okay,
around to that.
okay.
To me, there's certain things that don't need to be said.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's because I have seen a movie or two in my day. And granted,
I think we all have.
well, you're right, but there's certain people where you might want
Yeah.
more of that. I didn't necessarily need that because, again, and I've discussed this with you guys, and you guys know my opinion. When I go into a movie, I want to just be taken out of my zone for 2 hours and just enjoy a movie.
Yeah.
And however they want to throw that development at me, I'm usually okay with as long as it makes sense continuity-wise with the whole thing.
Sure.
There was a lot that
Oh,
they
yes.
really had to explain. And here's the
yeah.
funny thing. How much do we not know about Alita?
A ton.
A ton. And for not knowing, I actually cared about the character.
Yeah.
And you could do prequel movies, no problem. Zolom, which is the big, how do I want to say, the heaven in the sky, city in the sky, where everybody wants to get to.
The last city in the sky.
The last city in the sky. She is obviously, as you learn throughout the movie, she is from Mars.
Yep.
You don't know really why she is, how she is, other than her number was 99.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And she was fighting what looked almost like astronauts on the moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
It looked
kind
like she
of
was fighting the astronauts.
Apollo astronauts,
Yeah.
while she was kind of like, I mean, I would say like
think it-
murdered out, sweet looking, like space marine
Yeah.
uniform.
But I think it makes
Murder
sense
bot.
because I think that makes sense when the manga was created. I mean, the manga
Sure.
is older, so
Oh, yeah.
back then that's how the astronauts were. So yeah, you see the people in the astronauts, and meanwhile her people are in these sleek suits. And
Oh,
just,
yes.
You know, with their full face available and everything.
Well, and we definitely
it was weird.
We definitely know based on the tech differences shown that Mars appears to be way more advanced than Earth.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. Just the ship alone. That when you're talking about the water scene, the ship. But where are we? The 26th century, I think it says.
2560 something.
Because you get the 26th century
300,
Fox
we're
joke.
300, we're
Right.
300 years in the future.
Well, 300
Well,
years
no.
after the fall.
After the fall,
Well, in
right.
the 26th century.
26th century, yes.
300 years after the fall. The fall was when Mars invaded Earth,
Yep.
and all the cities fell out of the sky except for Zalem.
Yep.
And basically now you're either in, what is it called? The Iron
Scrap
City.
Iron City.
Yep.
Scrap Iron City, or you're up in Zalem. But people from Scrap Iron don't go there unless you are considered, or you are the champion.
You're the rollerball champion.
The
and there's,
rollerball-
there's
But it's not rollerball. It's
motorball.
motorball.
It was Cyborg. Cyborg's
Motorball,
playing a
rollerball,
crazy game.
murderball.
Yeah.
Take your pick. There's been a number of terms for it that you've
Yeah.
seen in other movies. It's all roughly about the same.
And as you pointed out earlier, that was not in the anime.
no,
but
that
it
was
was
not
in the manga.
But it was in the manga.
So this was something new. If you are OVA person on this, this is going to be a new scene, new experience for you that wasn't there originally, and that I thought that was really done well. All the parts with the motorball scenes were really done well.
But actually, everything with Nova was never even mentioned. Nova being our bad guy for the movie.
The overall umbrella.
and they
bad guy.
they had to cut something. It sounds like from the anime just to keep it contained to the two OVAs. And
There were
both.
there were definitely elements that were cut. They cut some elements for Hugo, who was also called Hugo in the actual original anime.
Now, Hugo is...
Hugo is Alita's love interest. And it's also very different because both Alita and Hugo were made to look older than they showed up in both the anime and the OVA.
Which makes
manga.
sense.
Maybe for the casting and everything.
For the
you know, to
dynamic
find
and
the
everything.
right
Yes.
actors.
She is... Again, she is a trained fighter,
yes.
trained killer.
But animes have a tendency, and mangas have a tendency to put very young characters in incredibly powerful roles and decisions, and
sometimes it doesn't work.
No,
not in a live action.
It works in a manga, but if this is supposed to be something in real world, it doesn't make sense.
No,
it just doesn't. So they aged them up. Fine, not a problem. Yep. They spent a lot of time on this with Alita and Hugo and the romance that they built between them, which was important. In the anime,
it's not there. They dropped it.
No, she is in love with him. He doesn't seem to care as much about her. He is gung ho about making money and getting to Zalem. I mean, he does care about her. He does come to by the end of the second episode.
So that's a change.
But he's not as into her as what we saw in the OVA, or like we see in the movies. In the movies, he is definitely all about her.
And I think it has to be that way in order for the final scene.
Yes.
To happen.
Yeah. And again, we're in spoiler territory now, so. Yeah. Again, if you've seen the OVAs at this point, we're just going to lay it out. Hugo's death scene in here is pretty much dead on to the OVAs.
Yeah, I even remember that.
Where he dies on the tube going up to Zalem.
But is he really going to be dead?
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's dead.
Okay.
That's a fall, man. That's a fall.
I'm not saying it's not, but
to my knowledge,
there's a lot of death.
I'm just saying movie-wise. We did not see.
No, that's true.
He fell through the clouds.
I do not know from in the manga if by chance he actually comes back. I can say I do know that in the manga at one point Ito actually dies and is actually brought back by the factory. But does it actually happen with Hugo? That I don't know. To my knowledge, he does not. His death is kind of the pivotal thing for. Here's another big one too. In the anime, in the beginning, she's not called Alita. She's called Gally. I don't know why the change. I can't remember if Alita is her actual name when she finally gets her memory back, or if it was Ito's daughter, like what they showed here in the movie. Yeah. I can't remember, but in the beginning of it all, she's called Gally. So I don't remember exactly why it is that she's eventually called Alita. I'm assuming that that's probably her actual real name. I don't remember.
And maybe it's to give more connection between her character and Ito.
Probably.
Try to connect them together, because otherwise, what is the connection? He's just curious and he wanted a kid again, you know?
But yeah, and again, I mean, I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've read it, and again, even the parts that my old friend had told me years back, I remember chunks of it, but not all of it.
Now, how about Jennifer Connelly? I was surprised she was playing such a, let's just call her what she was, a bitch. She wants to get back to Skyland, Zalem, and she'll do anything it takes to get there, working for a guy named Vector, who works for Nova.
Right.
And Vector, my God, I was like...
Jennifer Connelly or
Demi
Moore?
That was Jennifer Connelly.
Okay, okay.
No, that's Jennifer Connelly. I know her. When I saw her on that bed and I saw that thigh, I was like, Jennifer Connelly.
Well, now, that is a spoiler.
Career Opportunities, you know, that movie. Look it up if you don't know it.
But yeah, no, her representation of Sheeran was really dead on to the OVAs. Yeah. She did a very good job of it. It was, again, very true. I don't think there was a single character I saw in there that wasn't true to the OVAs and the mangas as I know it.
I just wish this movie had been done like 20, 30 years ago.
Except for Zapan. I did not. They changed up stuff with Zapan, and I wasn't necessarily pleased with what they did with it. They really turned him into more of a villain, which was not what he was in the OVAs.
You know, we're throwing around a lot of names right now, and here's what I will say. So, just to dial everything back. So, Nova is your overarching bad guy. He's the one who's going to pull the strings.
Well, he's the one that runs Zalem, kind of. It sounds like he runs Zalem.
And then you have basically his champion, whose name I can't really remember. Garash, okay, so let's just go with that. He's going to be your boots on the ground bad guy, who Alita's going to fight most of the time.
And he's taking his orders through Vector.
Yep. Vector, who's also a bad guy, who essentially is, let's just say, another puppet of Nova.
Looks like Wesley Snipes' Blade.
Yep. Great bad guy. And then underneath that, you also have the Hunter Warriors, who basically are the police of Iron City.
Because there are no police
mercenaries,
anymore.
What have you.
Bounty hunters.
And Zapan is let's just say, the badass of the badasses.
One of the top hunters.
He's a bit of a dick.
And he is visually, he looks cool.
Oh, he does.
Oh, yeah.
If you were going to make a video game character,
Yeah.
in terms of I want him to look as
Yes.
cool as possible,
Yeah.
Yes.
you would probably pay a lot of money in
Yeah.
terms of loot boxes and loot crates, something Jeremy loves so much, in order to make him look like this. This guy is cool
Right.
looking.
Except the Legends of the Hidden Temple thing on his back.
Which,
you know?
again, don't know where that comes
yeah,
from,
I don't know
but...
what that was. It was like it was all this ink and gold on his back. It
So
was like-
that's kind of the hierarchy. And then on the good side, you also have Ito, who finds Alita
Okay.
in the junkyard.
Right.
And then Hugo is Alita's love interest.
Yes.
right.
And then Jennifer Connelly's kind of stuck
What's
in
her
the
name in
Sheeran.
middle.
Sharon.
Sharon, who's stuck in the middle and kind of goes back
She's
and
a,
forth.
she's a doctor.
Yes.
And
Who was
Ito's-
married to Ito.
Correct.
She was married to Ito, and they split up after the daughter died. And
Right.
the daughter died by a roller guy kind of flipping out, looking for drugs. At their pharmacy or their facility
Yep.
place, and murders the daughter trying to escape.
Yep.
And that's where you're kind of you find this all out through the movie.
I think that's pretty much the base. I wanted everybody to know the basic hierarchy because
Yeah.
we're throwing around names, and I want everybody to
there's
understand
a lot
where
there.
it kind of filters in and
Yeah.
everything. Because if you are going to watch this to then go see it, I want to make sure everybody
Yeah.
knows the information. But I believe that is everybody
Yeah,
who really, really
All of our
matters.
major
Well, Hugo's friend who ends up biting it, but
He's not
tertiary character.
well, but Hugo himself is not this innocent guy. We gotta
No,
go.
not by any
Hugo's
measure.
like he's nice to Lita and he does stuff for Ito. It sounds like
Yes.
like some deliveries and such and procures some stuff. But what the problem is he's also a bit of a scalper, I guess, of cyborg parts. He actually
Scavenger,
He actually goes out and he rips parts off of cyborgs.
Yep.
And in the manga, I guess he's even worse because he's actually
So in the original manga, it's not parts that they're stealing. In the manga and the OVAs, the only thing that they can't replicate, aside from the human brain, is the human spine. So they're spine thieves. Because if you wanted to rebuild somebody and all you had was a brain, the spine is essentially one of the most valuable human parts you could possibly harvest. So Hugo is a spine thief. And he is trying to... In the manga and OVA, he's trying to raise 10 million credits in order to get up to Zalem. Which is roughly about the same in here. He's he's working for Vector, and he has to get 1 million credits in order to be sent up to Zalem.
But what's the truth of it? You can't buy your way into Zalem.
Nobody gets up to Zalem.
Not that
Well,
way.
you
No,
can.
except the rollerball
Rollerball
champion.
champion.
And,
What?
Well,
there was the other way.
they do.
Oh,
they
yeah.
do
Oh,
send.
God. That was the most brutal scene for me.
They don't send whole humans up to Zalem. They send bits and pieces.
Yeah, and they show that towards the end is what's her name again?
Sharon.
Jennifer Connelly. Yeah, Sharon. She's in a box. It's just her eyes, the brain, the
And her
heart,
heart.
and then there was something
Maybe
else.
a
Hands
lip.
were over there too.
The
Hands, yep.
So, and her eyes are just looking around and stuff, which means she's alive, and that is just.
Yep.
Thank you. That is just horrible. It was
Yeah.
just. I when I saw the scene, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was the wow moment. That's the only other way to Zalem other than
Yep,
Rollerball
and that's
Champion.
also very true to the OVA. I remember that scene. The one thing that they did different
worse
there,
in live action.
which I wish they would have kept this in there. At the end of it, it isn't Alita that winds up killing Vector. It's actually Ito, because he actually comes to Vector's place to confront him, and he finds out that Vector killed Sheeran, and he takes him out. And honestly, I kind of wish they'd left that scene.
Yeah, that sounds better actually to me. That sounds a lot better.
I'm not gonna. I'm sorry to cut. Ito was not really in the fourth quarter of the movie.
No.
Anyways, so I mean that character alone, ever since Nova threatened Alita,
Right.
with basically, if you come after me, the
Yeah.
people you again, classic bad
Look,
guy stuff.
since-
You come after me, I'm gonna go after the
Since
people
the
you love.
the motorball scene, I think that was the last. Sorry, we did see him when he fixed Hugo up, but after that moment, that was it. That was the
was
last
it.
we saw.
Well, you basically Alita was a little bit better of a warrior than Ito, and I think
Yes.
that was the whole thing.
Very much so.
I mean, she is the title of the movie, you know.
Well,
so
and
let's
they're-
focus on her, and that's
and
what
they
I
are,
think they
and
were doing.
they are focusing her. Because in the beginning of the movie, technically, she's kind of a newborn. She has no memory and all those different things. So we sort of go her growth period. And
Yeah.
at this point, she's still going to be with Ito living there, but she has in a capacity sort of outgrown her childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't need to show up because she's grown up.
Yep. And I guess we can get really quickly over to casting. I I thought all the characters were great. I don't know who all the cast is. If you guys know, you can jump in. But I thought the cast was great. I thought, in respect of, am I buying this character? Yeah, I felt they all gave great performances. I bought into everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to nitpick on anything just because it was one of those movies where they threw in big name actors in smaller roles. And I don't know why I love that, but it's like Matt Damon. He shows up in everything.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you star in movies. Like, you're a big name, but you're just throwing yourself out there. And I think that just makes it so much more well-rounded. It makes it more fun. And Michelle Rodriguez, I looked her up because she pops up in this movie. And it's
in small parts.
in the grand scheme of things, what? Maybe a minute's worth of footage? Maybe. Yeah, not very much. But it was pivotal roles, pivotal scenes. And again, casting wise, the bad guys, the bad guys, the underlings, they were all, you could believe who they are. So
Well, who was the guy you brought up?
Christoph Waltz, who played Ito. And seriously, every movie I've ever seen this man in, he's phenomenal. And he did just as good here in any of the other movies that I've seen him in. And both the Tarantino movies that he's been in, which were Django Unchained and Inglourious Bastards, those are good movies, but I will watch just his scenes over and over again. They are phenomenal. He's a great actor.
And he's a good actor in this. And how do I say? He's a good guy in this movie, which Chad and I were both saying he's a great villain. Yeah.
I'm talking about Ito.
That's what I'm talking about. In all of his other movies.
In other movies.
Oh, in the other movies.
Yeah. Sorry, not in this one. He's a good guy in this movie, but in 007 Spectre, Tarzan, he was a bad guy in that. Not the greatest movie,
Bastards.
but yes. Yeah. He is a great villain. They don't come around. A good heel, you can kind of plug and play. Yeah. And that's the one great thing about him as an actor.
But he did that in Django Unchained, too.
Yep.
And maybe they cast him, specifically for the fact, he has that look that he could be the bad guy, and they do allude to that in the beginning when the whole murders are going on,
But he has to have a bit of an edge because he's a hunter warrior as well. Yeah. There has to be some edge to him for him to be able to go out there and hunt down these criminals.
Yeah. So the actor was able to portray that kind of personality really well.
Very much so.
But I guess this will bring us out of spoilers, and then we can kind of go into here just our final thoughts on the movie and recommendations.
I'm willing to give a grade as well if you guys are. We can go
definitely.
1 out of 10.
Yeah. A 1 out of 10, okay.
1 out of 10. I already know what my grade is. We'll save you for the third. Okay. Save you for the third, so I'll go first. I would personally give this an 8.5.
Okay.
Solid movie. I absolutely recommend it. I think this is a movie you could even take if you have a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
I think there's something for everybody. There was only one curse word that I can really remember.
Oh, the F-bomb. Yeah, they get the one F-bomb.
But it was a proper.
PG-13, right?
It was a proper F-bomb. It wasn't just misplaced. It was at the correct moment. And again, it was at a really cool moment. So I recommend it. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I'm going to throw it back to Chad.
I'm going to give it a solid 8. I don't know, as we talked about before, I don't know what would make it higher than that. There's a few slightly cheesy moments with some of the dialogue that I thought was just a little trite. But aside from that, I thought, solid 8. Would go see it again. Now, we only saw it on a normal screen. We did not see it in IMAX or 3D. I kind of want to go back and see it again in 3D on IMAX. Just to see the effects on that, because as gorgeous as this movie is, that's got to be awesome on IMAX.
We thought Hugo loved Alita. Chad loves Alita more, I think.
I mean, just the visuals.
There was a lot of moments where you're like, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. I know.
So yes, I would definitely strongly recommend it. Go see it.
I'd put it somewhere actually at like a 6.5 or 7. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was bad. It's better than a lot of movies.
I would say it's still in the good territory.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Even maybe a 7.5. I think it was just the fact that all the exposition in the beginning, and then after that, they didn't really have time to build the characters. I think they tried to do too much in the amount of time it was. You needed another hour, I feel, and the movie would have paced better. I didn't want to sit there another hour. I'm not saying that, because 3-hour movies are hard to sit through. Sure. But I'm saying it felt like they tried to do a lot in the amount of time they had.
But as I've always said, though, with video games, books, any adaptation like this, it's hard to encapsulate these vast stories down into a reasonable chunk.
And then to give emotional moments, because emotional moments take time, and then meanwhile they're like, well, but we're stopping the story here, we need to keep it moving.
Which is why I give this a solid 8, because I think they managed to do that.
Yeah, like I said, it wasn't bad at all. I don't hate it, I don't regret going, it's just, it was like, the pacing and timing and some of it for me was just not as well as it could have been. But, do not be thrown off by the effects of this. The effects are great, the story is good, the characters are good. It's definitely a good movie.
It's amazing on the effects. If nothing else, I'd be surprised if this thing doesn't get put up for an Oscar.
Wow. Big word.
Bold statement. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
This is.
But don't quote us.
But don't quote us, as always. And I think that pretty much finishes everything up. My name's Steve.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chad. Please remember to like and subscribe, and
don't quote us.
Bye.